Hey guys, welcome to class number 3 of our Human Design series. I'm Randy Pierce. This
And I'm
is,
Natalie Collins.
yeah! And you know what? I realized this time to point this way because on the recording, I think the window is the other way. This
Really?
way.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. So I'm Randy. This is Natalie. We're here to help you understand today your inner authority. Natalie is going to share her experience as a projector with her specific authority. I'm going to share just a quick story and examples as a manifesting generator with my authority, and then you can sort of unwire it. We will do a separate class or maybe a small series of quick classes on understanding your inner authority based on your human design type, but that's a big conversation, so we want to break it down in easier chunks. And we're just going to start today's conversation because Natalie had an experience where her inner authority was being blocked, and she is very intuitive and very connected to her body. So she's going to share her experience with that. And I just want to open up this conversation and let you know that while you are a spiritual being in a human body, so you are literally this beautiful being of light and energy inside this physical container, it can be easy. It's easy to feel disconnected from your body. It's easy to feel disconnected from your power. And so I want to open this conversation with an invitation and reminder to you. You can communicate with your body. Your body is always telling you things. Your mind is always telling you things too, but it depends, you've got to pay attention to the nature of the communication. But I want everyone to really feel connected with their body and to do whatever you need to do to get to a place where you hear your body talk to you. Natalie is going to share her full story on that. I, from my own personal experience, can absolutely say I am definitely intuitive. I feel what my body says to me on a daily basis. You've got to listen to your body, because if you don't have your health, you don't have a vehicle for you to live a prosperous, on purpose, healthy, happy life. So listen to your body, build a relationship with it. It's always communicating with you. So Natalie, do you want to jump into your story and just give us a quick rundown? You're a projector. You want to give us a quick rundown on your authority, and then just jump into your experience, because this is going to be really cool.
Okay. So just as I want to add on just one more thing to what you were saying, Randy, and that is with our human body, this is our vehicle to be able to communicate with our spirit, because we are a spiritual being having a human experience. Our spirit, the center, is our center of centers inside of us. And so our spirit communicates to us through our body. It doesn't communicate necessarily through the mind, but the mind gets to interpret what the body is experiencing. And so this is, it can be a head trip to get into this stuff, because we're relearning and listening to the body instead of how we've been trained to listen to the mind. And so this is in a sense, a changing of the guard of how we experience and communicate with ourselves and interact with the world in our life, and what's correct for us on an individual basis. And that's going to be different according to your strategy and authority. So we're going to talk a little bit about 2 different authorities, like Randy said. Randy has emotional authority, which is 50% of the population. So there's a good chance that 50% of the people watching this video is going to have emotional authority. I, on the other hand, have ego projected authority, which is the rarest of all authorities. So there's not going to be a whole lot of people who have this particular inner authority, but the lessons that come with it will resonate with you, or at least I hope they will with this. So when I first discovered my inner authority, I had started accidentally became a raw foodist for a couple of years. And during this time is when I actually tapped into my inner authority for really the first time ever. And it was very shocking and surprising to me because of how strong it was. hearing it for the first time really was nerve-wracking, because this is what was happening in my life. I was in a marriage that was not good for me. On many levels, I knew this, but then there's this other rational side of like, it's really not that bad. I can make it work. We have kids. There's, like, we can stick it out. So I just had this struggle for many years of what I should do. And so one day I was sitting in my office and I just like felt the need to really just go into my heart space and have a conversation with myself. And I play a game of what if. And I do this with myself and with my clients because it's fun to like figure out what if, where's the energy? And so my what if was, what if I stayed in the relationship? What would happen? What if I did? What if I worked it out? What if I gave it my all? What would how would I feel with that? And with that, I felt this contraction of energy and this immediate depression just fall over my entire body, which was really surprising. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, I hear you and I see how like miserable the rest of my life would be if I stayed in that situation. So like, what if I got out of the situation? What if I got a divorce? And all of a sudden my energy was just opened up and zinging and having like just so excited. And I was like, okay. And the thing was, in my head, like my head totally tripped out with this because I'd never lived alone as an adult before. And so this was like I married young. So this is going to be my first adventure, like out on my own. How was I going to support myself? Like there's just all these different things. But here's the trick is that obviously this was a huge yes for me to move on. And so then the brain gets to say, I hear what the yes is. And now we get to like figure it out from a logical perspective and see what happens with it in that regard. So the brain is here to really take orders from the soul of what is the yes and to go and put it into logical form. If that makes sense, So
it does. Okay. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm thinking it might be very cool if you have your chart so that you can show people exactly where you feel that or where you felt that authority. And the reason that I say that is because this is part of what we want to help you understand today. There's a place in your body where you can feel when energy shifts. Mm-hmm. And it's important, like Natalie was just describing these what if situations. Those are perfect situations where here's one option, here's option two. And wherever you feel a strong surge of like clarity or power or, negative emotion or heaviness, that will tell you where, what area of your authority is speaking to you. And it always tells you the truth. And you mentioned something else that was really important too, and that is the mind comes in afterwards. Listen, marriage and moving on is something that we have talked about a lot and experienced a lot as women entrepreneurs. Listen, people who are dedicated to living their soul's truth, to growing, to evolving. Listen, sometimes that involves moving on from a marriage because you are not the same woman that you were when you married. So I know that I deal with this with my clients. I just want to give you full permission. You've got to pay attention to what feels right for you. And I didn't mean to interrupt your story, but I wanted to put that in there. And back to you, Natalie.
Awesome. Thank you. So while you were doing that, I was able to pull up my human design chart. And this is my human design. So this red triangle right here is the Willpower Center, and it connects to this diamond, this yellow diamond in the middle. That connection is what creates my authority. So my authority comes from the Willpower Center. And as you can see, I have a very extremely defined will, because I have all 4 channels of the Will Center defined in that, all of them on the personality side and one on the design side. So, or one also on the design side. So for many years, I actually had to have, like, I had to shut it down, the Willpower Center, like more out of safety. But here's the interesting part. So I thought it was out of safety. Okay. Because the past couple of years, I've been a little relaxed with some things and really just focused on serving my clients and enjoying life. And, you know, we recently moved across the country. And so there's like, life happens with things. But I've been doing NSA chiropractic and this divine soul work that's really beautiful. But there's these parts, and, you know, even my husband, he's like, sometimes you're just not listening. And I've had internal conflicts with myself on that as well, of like not truly being able to hear my inner authority the way that I did the first time. So I'm like, what's up with that? Like, I need to figure this out. And it's like, my brain's like, I need to figure this out. But a lot of my training has been how to talk to the body and what the body's saying, what's the resonant tone of it, how to feel the yes and the no, which is obvious with me being able to feel that inner authority for the first time. For the past several years, I've kind of like been searching for it. And so I had this spot in my back pop up. Now, here's the thing with pain. This spot feels like a very pinched nerve and has pain radiating up and down from it. And it's basically like in the middle of my back about here. And the thing with pain is that is your body literally screaming at you that something's off, something's wrong. You know, it's trying to talk to you, and maybe it's been trying to talk to you for a long time. And now it's manifested in this pain because it's literally screaming. And so, you know, your body is a really brilliant thing. And the more that you can learn to talk to it, the more you can say, oh, hey, I know what's wrong and I know how to fix you. So I went into the space and I realized, here's the thing, is that this pinched nerve, this pain is on the back side of where my Willpower Center and Heart Center are. I get it. Like, I'm very aware of where this is in my body. And so I was able to go into a really deep meditation. Of all places, I was a passenger in the car the other day and went into a meditation, and I got a really profound answer that I've never heard it before. And so this is part of what I want to share with you today is this answer. The first word that came to me and was told to me by my body was sugar. Sugar is what's causing the pain. And I was like, okay, sugar, I get it. I like sugar just as much as the next person does. I don't consume it as much as I did when I was younger. When I did the raw food diet, I was off sugar for 2 years. So here's the thing that my inner authority was telling me, that my heart was telling me, was that the sugar is blocking me from being able to truly hear my inner authority. Okay. The sugar. And it's like, it changes the chemistry in your body. It changes the chemistry in your brain. It is, and studies have proven this, it's 11 times more addictive in your brain than cocaine is. And there's this one last piece of, this is a way to disconnect you. For me in particular, it could be for you too. I don't know that yet because we'll have to listen to your body to see what might be blocking. But it's created this band around me that has caused the seemingly disconnection, but it's almost like this haze, this tension and tightness and haze around it, which has been a source of my frustration. I didn't know that this was happening. And so all of a sudden this is revealed that sugar is the culprit in this. It's also because of the way that is disconnecting me personally from my inner authority. It's a way to have other people and higher authorities be able to step in as the authority, where I am looking at somebody else to be my authority instead of looking back inside of myself of what's right for me. So that was this disconnection of, oh, hey, this is what's causing the issue. And so now that my willpower has kicked in behind it, guess what? I'm off sugar. It's only been a day. We'll see. I'm sure I'll relapse with stuff, but my goal is to eliminate sugar from my diet, because I almost desperately want to always be in connection and guided by my inner authority. I don't want other people telling me what to do. I don't want other people to be the authority over me. And I realized that what had happened in my previous marriage, and when I went on the raw food and was able to connect with my inner authority for the first time, most of the time during like my entire life before I detoxed from sugar the first time, I had been consuming loads of sugar. And so I wasn't tapped into that part of myself. And so it's this really interesting thing of your body's going to tell you what's up, what's wrong, and also how to listen to yourself, because we are here as these 9-centered beings now to learn how to become our own authority and to listen to ourselves and to trust ourselves, because our bodies are these miraculous things that once you tap into the truth that's underneath, maybe the layers of sugar, maybe the layers of whatever else it might be, being able to connect with what's right for us as an individual. And when you're connected in with that is when you're able to become the change maker, become the person that you're supposed to step into, and really live the life that you're here to live that's correct for you.
Totally agree with so much of what you said. And when I was throwing up, 1 and 2, because I wanted you guys to pay attention to what Natalie shared. Those were 2 powerful points. But Natalie, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a simple yes or no question, because I want to demonstrate how powerful it is, number 1, to listen to your body, because it's always communicating with you. It's always telling you what's going on. And number 2, we can find ourselves in situations, emotional hazes, physical hazes, mental hazes, where that connection is filtered or blocked. And listen, it messes with your life. So here's my question for you, Natalie. I'm totally putting you on the spot, but I want to prove I want to show just how powerful this is. So let me think. I want to form this in a yes or no question. So during the times in your life when you were not conscious of your diet or not conscious of supporting your body, did you feel like there were like overarching questions of what the hell's wrong with me? What's going on with my life? Why do I not, maybe you weren't happy, but was there some sort of like clear, like disconnection from you and the life that you wanted? Like, was there some sort of like, this can't be it, or maybe maybe you were unhappy. Can you tell me more about that?
Hands down, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that has reared its head many times in my life, and I've been able to work through it. And it's been because of diet first and foremost. I can do all the EFT tapping, I can do all of the soul work that I want, but if I do not have my nutrition honed in and I'm getting good, dense nutrition from good sources, there are chemicals in the foods. Sugar, again, it's an unnatural chemical that the body doesn't recognize as a food source, and so it stores it. It creates blockages. It is the biggest contributor to things like heart disease and heart issues. Hello, like there's this band. How many other people have this band? I don't know yet, and so that's this curiosity that I'm interested in discovering of how much does that affect you being able to tap into who you are. But I wasn't able to tap into my truth until I cleaned my diet up. Until I started getting dense nutrition and really feeling healthy for the first time in my life and being able to continue on with that. I mean, I thought I was doing pretty good. Granted, I know I brought sugar back into my diet, which, you know, I relaxed on that because I honestly got sick of just having to read every single label all the time. There are some things, most things my body will react to, and I will tell me yes or no. And so I just go with that, but I was a little more relaxed on the sugar aspect. So there are things that the more that you fine tune and see what is causing that mental fog for you, clearing that stuff out and bringing in things that fuel your body. Some people, it's really interesting in human design, there is something called variables. And if you get your human design chart, you'll see these little arrows, the pointing left or right, on the top of the chart, which a lot of people are like, what are the arrows? So these are variables. The first one on the top left side will point either left or right. This is actually how your brain functions. If you, for right, it is more active, and for right, it's more passive, and for left, it's more active. So someone who has a arrow for the right, their brain is designed to be more passive. And so fasting can be really good for you. And going in and clearing stuff out through a 24-hour water cleanse, or something where it's, you know, you're fasting for a day to help eliminate things from your body. Whereas someone who has a left arrow or left variable really needs, because the brain is so highly functioning all the time, needs nutrition and shouldn't fast, but can fast in a different way. So say if you had like a green smoothie fast that has a whole ton of nutrients in it, or some kind of green drink, something that's going to fuel you on a really dense nutritional level, but doesn't give a lot of calories, that's a different, like, you can play with that in a sense. But getting yourself starting to get cleared out is so important, because it's clearing out the junk so you can start connecting with who you are.
Yes. And ultimately, that's what we want for you. And let me just interject here. I know I'm not speaking for Natalie. I'm not a licensed doctor. I'm not a licensed nutritionist. So listen to your body. Go to the licensed authorities that you need to for
This
your
is not
health.
medical advice.
Yes, exactly. We're not giving medical advice here. But we're real people who have this deep desire and wiring to continually improve and to become more efficient, effective, and centered and grounded in creating the life that we desire and to be of service to people. So we're just here to have a real conversation about our experiences. And Natalie, I love, we could totally talk, we could probably do an entire class on this, but I love how you explained how you felt like that band around you and how it was directly related to your will center and your inner authorities, and where it felt like whatever, there was this band. Maybe it felt, I know you described it as sort of like a haze. Mm-hmm. All of this, guys, comes from listening to your body and getting your brain out of the way so that you can actually feel into your body on a higher level. The other thing that I love that you said is when our brains are not clear, when our bodies are not clean of chemicals and stuff. Listen, I am going to have my own conversation about food when we get to my section of the call. But I just want to clarify here. If you cannot be clear and connected to your inner authority, there is something that is going to control your life and create stuff that you will likely not be very happy with. So it's super important for you to do whatever you need to do to get clear, clean, and connected and live your truth. However that looks for you. We're not telling you what to do or how to do it, but if you have this desire to master your life, you got to master this thing first, this whole thing. And that includes many levels, including your diet. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So after just one day, have you noticed a difference in your energy? Do you feel any different, or is it still settling in?
It's still settling in. I was told by my heart center that it would take 2 to 3 days to really start feeling a difference, and then about 2 weeks for it to clear out of my system. So it has been about 24 hours at this point. But I have felt a difference so far because I feel it starting to clear. And I also, the biggest thing is the pain in my back has greatly reduced. So I'm like, thank you. Like, it still hurts to sneeze. But
That's okay. That'll clear itself out. And that was really important how you mentioned, listen, you were aware of the fact that that pain in your back was on the back end of your will center, your inner authority. There's no accidents. There are no accidents in where you feel pain in your body.
Nope.
And, I fully believe that there are signals and signs and energy that you can interpret in your body long before the pain starts. The problem is that many of us are so disconnected, we miss all of those early signs, which in some cases go on for years before something big happens and we're like, ow, 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 right?
Yep.
So just, pay attention.
Before it manifests in the meat.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's true. So is there anything else that you feel called to share about your experience through this process?
So it's really
with awakening and reconnecting with your inner authority.
Yeah. So here's the thing with, especially with ego authority, and this goes for projectors or manifestors that have this. It's more common in manifestors to have the ego authority. But it's ego in the Willpower Center is all about, what do I want? What do I want? But an even deeper level is, what does my body want? What does my spirit want? What does source want to express through me? So there's these different layers of I wants. And so when I tapped into, like, should I stay in the marriage or should I not stay in the marriage? My spirit wanted me to get out. And there's this, going back to the head trip of, okay, I hear you and I'm willing to listen. So I'm willing to put willpower behind making the stuff happen. And then it comes, full circle into the sugar thing. Like, I've had many experiences through then. It hasn't been every day because of the sugar disconnect that's happened. But because of the sugar, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I desire my connection with my inner authority way more than I desire a piece of chocolate that has sugar in it. I can find chocolate that has non-sweeteners in it, or like erythritol or whatever. That's going to be okay for me. I can find other ways to like get the chocolate fix. But my desire to be connected with my inner authority is way stronger. And so my willpower kicks in to drive the sugar away. And so, we talk about, there's so much talk about like in diet stuff, like having the willpower to go through. Well, 7/8 of the population do not have the willpower center defined, or like 66%, something around there. Majority of people do not have the willpower center defined. And so relying on willpower to get you through something may not be correct for you. And so learning where your inner authority speaks from, and, releasing yourself or the brain to being able to follow what the yes is and what the no is, starts to really develop this really beautiful relationship with yourself, so that what you are, and what you are wanting, what your spirit is wanting to express through you, is actually for the good of yourself and everyone else involved. So my willpower may seem like really overbearing and overpowering sometimes, but sometimes it needs to be in order to get the ball rolling, to get the things done and get other people moving in that direction too. Even if I come off as like mean sometimes, like I just gotta do it. Because I know it's for the greater good, even if sometimes it doesn't feel like it in the moment because it's weird, like sugar, hello.
Yeah.
But I have the willpower now that it's been activated to cut that out of my system, which is, it's an addictive substance. This is not an easy thing to do. So there you go.
And it's in everything. So
it is.
Yeah, it is in everything. And listen, you're not, unless all you eat is raw food, right? Raw, unprocessed food, you're going to get sugar somewhere. Your job, if sugar happens to be your thing, is just to be conscious about it and to make conscious choices in alignment with your deepest desire and in alignment with your inner authority. If you could break it down into like 1 or 2 or 3 steps, could you lead someone through that process of, if they have a pain, how do they find it and how do they communicate with their body?
So there is a process of, one, having an awareness of where it's at and where that is connected to in the nervous system and where that is, manifesting. Like for me, it was like more of the heart center type of area. But sometimes your body will tell you where that is. And so that really the biggest thing is to go into a meditation where it's quiet. I find that I do really good in meditations with music and guided stuff, but when it comes to this work, I actually really need it to be silent so that I can really hear what my body is trying to say. And so I will go through and closing my eyes and focusing on that space, that point of the pain. And you can do this if you have a hard time focusing on it through inner thought. You can actually like put your finger on it, put your hand over it, wherever it is on your body, if you can reach it. Like it's kind of hard for me to do it on my back. Like I can do it, but it's kind of hard. And going in and clearing your mind as much as possible and asking questions of, what is it that you want to tell me? How can I help you? What are you experiencing? And going in with a loving attitude instead of being like, what is wrong with you? Type of attitude, but it's this loving, like you would a wounded child, like, tell me what's wrong. How can I help you? What, where are you hurting? Why are you hurting? Things like this, where it's this gentleness that the body really is truly craving and needing, and being able to tap into and see what, and observing. This is like not thinking through it, because that's where I get hung up there a lot, and I have to remind myself, hey, this is not you trying to think through it. This is you listening to what the answer is. And seeing what your body tells you. And there are also, like, I did NSA chiropractic for 4 years while I was in Atlanta, which truly deeply helped me being able to connect with it, with my body in this sense, in other ways. And so there are other ways that other people can help you through this if you can't hear it for yourself, because there's a training that needs to happen. If you've never actually talked to your body before, it can feel very foreign and very weird at first, that like, what, you can talk to your body? Yeah. If you're in pain, your body's literally screaming at you to listen. Yeah. So the pain is the easiest place to go in and say, hey, what do you need? And start there and see what happens with that. You can report back to us too.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for leading us through that. And thanks for sharing your experience with that process, because I hope, even if you're not a projector, well, you, answer this for me. Even if someone isn't a projector, but someone has that ego will center activated and there happens to be a pain like around that area, they can just use what you've shared with them to use the same process and get the same awareness?
You can do that whether or not you have the willpower center defined or not. It's a pain anywhere in your body. So
Okay.
anybody can use this to be able to tap into, or at least start to the listening process.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. So are we ready to go ahead and jump into my experience with this? So, I don't have my iPad with me. Hey, Nat, can you pull up my chart for me?
Bet.
Thank you. I just want to be able to show you in the chart what's going on and then go ahead and share with you. I've had my own experience with this whole inner authority thing. And I just want to share briefly here. So that sacral, that red square that you'll see, listen, everything that I decide on in my life starts from that place. And that sacral energy center is super clear for me. So where this is related to diet and where my pain appears, I just want to thank you, Nat. I just want to let you guys know that I've got those 3 major energy centers in my abdomen area. And let me tell you, I've had to do my own journey with digestion and supporting my abdomen area. For me, diet has been a huge part of that. I was very unconscious and disconnected and, basically my life was a mess when I was younger. I deeply had a spiritual connection. I knew that I was here for a big life purpose. I knew that I was here to accomplish great things. I just didn't know how to get to them. So I was eating processed foods. I was drinking in my 20s. I played around with drugs in high school because I went to Fast Times at Ridgemont High, literally. I was like, messing around, and I wasn't listening to my wisdom centers in my abdomen, and my diet and my partying and my drinking and, how I was eating and disconnected from life was filtering or, blocking that communication. And for most of my life, up until probably my late 20s, the only time I felt that sacral energy was when I was like in serious trouble or I was at a serious crossroads, and it was sort of like a crisis thing. It really wasn't until I had a spiritual crisis at the age of 29 where I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? That moment. And I've had more than one of those moments, right? What the hell am I doing with my life? That I was able to, I cut back on the drinking. I started eating healthier. I was really focused on exercise. And through that process, it just evolved into, at this point, I rarely drink. I'll have like a drink or a beer. Get me an espresso martini. Get me an espresso martini. And I'll drink those on vacation. But honestly, I have maybe one drink every 8 weeks or 10 weeks. It's like every couple of months, because I feel the difference in my energy and my ability to really be connected to my inner authorities with alcohol and processed foods and sugar. There was a point in my life where I was eating a monotrophic diet. So monotrophic diet basically means you eat one kind of food that requires one stomach enzyme. And when you break down your diet in a way that requires just one enzyme to digest, you can literally digest meat in about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. You can digest fruit in about 10 or 15 minutes. And it literally, your body is a machine. Now, I'm not telling you have to do that, and I don't do that anymore because you eat basically every hour, which isn't exactly convenient. But it really was that period where I started understanding how the body worked and what I needed to feel clear and energized. And during that time when I was eating a monotrophic diet, I was 11% body fat. I was ripped. I was the healthiest I've ever been. I've had more energy than I've ever had. I had more mental clarity than I ever had. I was sleeping better. I felt better. And while it required effort to maintain that level of fitness, I learned a lot about what my body does when I feed it properly. And in full transparency, ever since I ate that monotrophic diet, my body has never been able to process processed foods like it used to, because I literally shifted something. Your body is the most amazing thing, and it can digest food and get your body the nutrients that it needs literally in a matter of minutes. That does not happen when you are eating processed foods, when you're throwing 5 different foods into your stomach that require, all these different enzymes. It screws with your sugar level, it screws with your metabolism, it screws with how the nutrients that your body needs gets delivered, right? And how it absorbs. Again, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not telling you I'm not giving you medical advice, but I will say, from someone who started out, I remember my dad buying boxes of corn dogs, frozen corn dogs, and I used to eat those after high school. I don't eat them. I do love a good corn dog, from the stadium, but I don't eat them anymore. And when I do, I'm like, ugh. So my invitation to you, and as someone who has those abdomen motors, because let me tell you something, those motors, I cannot deny the power in those motors, they are there. And because of that, I've had periods in my life where I have not eaten well, where I have not taken care of myself, and the communication with those motors is nil or none. And then I end up going, what the hell am I doing with my life, right? Because I've lost that connection. To periods where right now I'm eating healthy. I eat a lot of raw food, cooked. I need it cooked because I have a sensitive digestion, and you don't want to be around me if I eat uncooked vegetables. You know what I'm saying? So I need them cooked, but I eat very simply, and I've taken out processed foods. I put coconut creamer in my coffee, which does have sugar. I get that. And I can tell when I have that creamer that has the sugar in it, I can tell. It's just not as clear and clean. My desire, like Natalie said, my desire to be clean, to be clear, to be grounded, to be centered, to be in my life purpose, to be happy, to be intentional, to be conscious about my choices, to intentionally create my desires. All of that means that I have to take care of my body. And really, ultimately, I had a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, a lot of mental fogginess. And it really wasn't until I started working out, did the monotrophic diet, and I was like, whoa. I wish I could describe to you how differently I felt in my body, and how clear my head was, and how clear my inner guidance was. It was every step, I would take 20 steps in a day, and everything would be go here, do that, call this person, right? Go to this place. It was every step of the way I was guided. And it was the most comforting thing. During the times when I've gotten disconnected from that, I just use one simple tool. And this has really infused all areas of my life, from my business to my personal relationships to money, to navigating life. And that is, what do you need? I have just learned to show up as the most loving, compassionate partner who is able to listen, who surrenders the bullshit that can drive us into behaviors and patterns and false goals, right, that lead us down paths that we don't need to go down. Just being a better listener, letting go of the bullshit, and really being available to be my best partner. And that means being my best partner for my body too. Don't get me wrong, I'm human. I have cravings. You know, I had brownies earlier this week. Do what you're going to do and just do the best that you can to be conscious about your choices in a way that allows you to be your own best partner. And that is my greatest piece of advice where this is concerned. If you are having trouble listening to your inner authority, treat yourself as the best husband or the best mom or the best dad or the best like life partner, right? Like someone that you can count on. They are there when you need them. They give you a strong foundation for showing up as your best self in the world, right? Be loving, be kind, be compassionate, be available, and listen. I love what you said about listening earlier, Nat, because it so matters. You need to be available to listen ultimately. And I'm just curious, Nat, have you seen in any of your experience with human design, anyone who's got like strong, lower motors, do they have digestive sensitivities or do they need extra support in that area? Because I know I do.
Well, my husband does. He finds that if he eats kind of like a crappy meal versus a very highly nutritionally dense home cooked meal, that the kind of the crappy meal, his body will push it out of his system really quickly. And it's like flushes it out and he's not very happy for a while. So, but when he has the nutrient dense stuff and things that are like more from the grocery store, that like shopping the perimeter and whatnot, it digests normally and it digests the way that it's supposed to, and he feels a lot better and clearer and is able to function better. And so, yeah, I've noticed that with him, and he's had that issue his whole life. And so he kind of jokes that he's ate more vegetables since he's met me than his entire life from previously, and he actually loves it. So
yeah.
Strange as it sounds.
And I totally agree. I have to have greens every day, and I am not necessarily a veggie person. I eat intuitively, and maybe it's just me. Maybe it's partly that I'm a manifesting generator. Maybe it's partly where, my inner authority ends up landing. But I got to be honest. I have to eat what I feel like eating. And what I feel like my body needs. If it's craving something with sugar or sweet, then I know something is off. Because it's very true where your inner authority and where your body is concerned. Your higher self, your best self, will never say, go eat a full container of brownies. It will always lead you to something that is healthy, supportive, and nutritionally dense in whatever it is that your body is craving. If you're craving sugar, there's something off. And that's not, like Natalie said earlier, that's not the authority that you want to have running your life. Sugar should not be the authority running your life. And
this actually brought something up that I heard a while back that I think would be really interesting to add here, is that if you are craving a lot of sugar in your life, it may be because you are craving the sweetness that life can bring you, and you're not giving that to yourself. And so you're getting it through sugar instead, which causes all kinds of issues. So looking at, are you actually craving more of the sweetness of life to come in instead. I know. Speechless.
Yeah. Okay, so I hope that today's class was helpful to you. This conversation unfolded organically. One of the things that I love about doing this series with Nat is that, we come up with an idea that's intuitive on some level for both of us, where we feel either this is something important to share, or we feel called to help you better understand your true human design and how you can leverage that to create the life that you really want. Ultimately, you have to listen to your own body and listen to what it says. You're going to need specific nutritional makeups and forms of food, because there are people who digest, complex carbs better. There are other people who digest meat better. There are people who are vegan. There are people who are vegetarian. There are people who, are going to love dairy products. It's really up to you to decide, and just ask yourself, do I feel good after I eat this? One of the things that I started paying attention to when I was switching my diet was noticing how I felt in the morning. So I can tell, and I don't know about you, Nat, but I can tell when I've had processed foods the day before, when I wake up the next morning, I'm like, ew.
Yeah. Especially if you work out in the morning and you go and do your workout thing, it will completely affect how well you're able to work out.
Yep, absolutely. So just do what's right for you. We're just here to support you and give you information that will hopefully help you get clear, get clean, get connected, get intentional. Anything else you want to close out with, Nat? Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.